Arizona baseball is going to host a regional. Arizona football cleans out the entire running back room, and there's a new there's a new recruit for Arizona football as well.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for giving it Locked On Wildcats. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. Check it out, FanDuel. All right, all kinds of good stuff at FanDuel. Now, Arizona baseball is going to be hosting a regional. We will be breaking it down, who they're going to be playing, who's in their regional, all tomorrow. You have my word on that one. But I got to give a big shout out to the guys. Also got to give a shout out to the selection committee for getting this one right. I did not think they would get this one right. I had absolutely no expectations that they would get this one right. So again, big shout out to them as well. We will see what Arizona's role is, but I think that Arizona is going to be in good spots. And, so many people have said that, they appreciate the job Chip Hale's done, but they've said, you know what, I want to be able to hold off and just kind of see exactly what he does in the postseason. Fair enough. Postseason's here. Arizona's going to be hosting. It's going to be up to Arizona to be able to, win. And it should be in front of a very, very raucous crowd in High Corbett Field. That is a good thing for Arizona. We are very, very excited about this. We will break this down more, obviously. Now, also wanted to talk a little bit of some Arizona football and some Arizona basketball as well. Arizona football, big news, my friends, big news. Arizona's running back room is now set. You have with Quali Conley, Kedrick Riscano, Jacory Croskie Merrit, and Rayshon Speedy Luke, you have your four. In my opinion, this is the best running back quartet in the conference. And I look at this offense now for Arizona, and the only thing that I think that needs to be added to is the offensive line. I do like getting Jonah Rodriguez out of San Diego State. I think there's going to be a little bit more that comes into play there. But so far, so good. I am excited with what Arizona has been able to do. I think Arizona has done a very, very nice job. And when it comes to offense, you're good at quarterback, you're good at wide receiver, you're definitely good at running back now. You just got to be able, I think, to fortify that offensive line. If you fortify that offensive line, then I think that this could be one of the this should be one of the best offenses in the entire country. And if it's not, then I think that we are going to look at Dino Babers and wonder exactly what did go on. But either way, this is a good situation for Arizona. And I think Arizona fans probably get that one as well. But again, got to give Brennan a lot of credit here because he needed to be able to shore up some stuff. He had to get the running back room was decimated. Obviously, did a really good job with that. Wide receiver, you lost some dudes. And not only was he able to keep T-Mac, he was able to keep some others. But I think a Raymelo Murphy is going to be an underrated dude that he's bringing in here as well. So wide receiver. And then on the offensive line, just got to get some more guys. Then defensively, listen, we already know the safeties are loaded. You got Jacario Davis at one of the cornerback spots. You got to get some more corners. That is hopefully you address it to a certain degree with Freeney, but I think there's more that's going to go into that one as well. And then at linebacker, you still got to add. I feel very good about Jacob Manu, obviously. Outside of Jacob Manu, I do not feel good about the rest of the linebacking core. That's something that's got to be addressed. You got your starting four, you got your down linemen, and you just got to be able to, I think, add some depth to it, but they did a nice job there. You brought in a lot of these dudes. You brought in yourself. Trey Smith at one of those defensive ends. He is going to start. Very nice player, obviously. And then you've got Tai Uiagalelei at the other side. And then inside, you're probably going to have Chuba May and you're going to have Kevon Darton. So Arizona did a pretty good job of being able to fortify those positions, but you got to get depth now. You've love Isaiah Johnson as one of those D tackles, and then Bear Anderson. Both very, very nice options, but you're going to have to get a little bit more in there as well. especially on the edges. But I got to give this coaching staff a lot of credit for what they were able to do. They were able to hold the pieces, and they were able to fortify what they needed to be able to fortify. And that is something that I don't think that you can really take lightly at this stage, especially with the way the transfer portal is and with so many players going to the highest bidder. This is something that Arizona did a good job of, and I think that we got to give Brent Brennan a ton of credit for what he did, because he inherited a roster that he was going to have to keep a lot of these guys. Not only did he keep these guys, I think that you're going to be able to build on it. The next step, though, when that next portal opens, we'll be able to fortify some of those positions that we just talked about. Now, QB recruiting. This is where it gets fascinating, because Robert McDaniel is now in at the University of Arizona, and he is a nice piece for the U of A. This is a fringe 4-star kid, depending on how you look at it, but he is a player that, I think is going to fit in very, very nicely with what this coaching staff wants to do. And honestly, I do believe that we are kind of at the stage now where Arizona knows that, you're going to get you should be able to get a good quarterback, especially one dude who's going to be playing off of Noah Fafita. Playing off of Noah Fafita is going to obviously help. And I think that is something that Arizona is in a very, very good spot with. So we will obviously we'll see with that. But Robert McDaniel out of California, a nice piece that Arizona was able to add. And then going forward, you will see that California, especially maybe Northern California, is going to be kind of a hot spot for what Arizona wants. Arizona's coaching staff wants to recruit. That's kind of where some of their ties are. Obviously, in Northern California, you've already got a tight end there that is very, very good, and you got a quarterback as well. The 2025 class is also the class that I think that you should really be able to judge this coaching staff on. I think way too often people are like, well, immediately you didn't get a good recruit in there, so therefore this coaching staff can't recruit. That is not really the case at all. You've got to be able to get, look at Dilly. Dilly's doing a pretty good job recruiting at ASU, and it took him a couple years to really start getting those players, because it takes a couple years to be able to get that relationship going. And Arizona is doing that. I think 2025 will be the class where you're like, all right, what can Brent Brennan do? Can Brent Brennan recruit at the level that we need him to? And I think 2025 will be that test case. Again, it's not going to be a perfect situation, but I think 2025 will be that test case where you find out exactly where Brent Brennan is. But obviously, getting McDaniel in here, you want to get a QB every single class. And honestly, looking at this duo, or looking at this list, you probably got 3 years of Noah Fafita. I don't know that Braden Dorman is this. I don't know that Braden Dorman is going to be that guy. I know that he was highly rated, but I don't know that he is that dude. I'd love to be wrong. And after that, I think you got a lot of guys you're probably not feeling comfortable starting with. McDaniel is that first dude you bring in. You're like, all right, this is somebody that I think that we have some expectations are that he could hopefully start at some point, and he could be a little bit of a difference maker. So McDaniel, very nice little get for Arizona. And I think it also goes to show you, too, the recruiting chops that this staff does have. I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but I think when you see the connections that they put forward, I think you're going to be happy with what you see. Are they going to recruit like Jedd Fisch? Probably not. But Jedd Fisch was a really, really good recruiter. I hate Jedd Fisch personally. I think he's a scumbag, but he did a pretty good job recruiting, and I think that's something that you got to take in mind. Brent Brennan is going to have his own little wheelhouse, and McDaniel, along with Kern, is one of those dudes that I think you're going to kind of see with that recruiting class in 2025. Now, one other thing, and then we're going to get to a little bit of Arizona basketball. We're all over the place here. FanDuel, check it out. FanDuel.com/lockedon. All kinds of good stuff at FanDuel. Baseball is here right now. I am not a big baseball fan, as anybody out there knows, but I very much like betting or watching baseball if I got a little bit of skin in the game. Check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. This is another one of these ones where you will thank me later, ladies and gentlemen, because, again, FanDuel is where it's at. FanDuel.com/lockedon. You know your money's good. Not only do you know your money's good, you also know that you're going to be able to get down some nice little wagers, and you can bet before the game, you can bet during the game, or you can bet futures as well. All kinds of good stuff at FanDuel.com/locked-on. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit. Hold on. Let's talk a little bit about some Arizona basketball. Obviously, things are going really, really well with Arizona baseball. Going to be hosting a regional. We're going to be breaking that one down all show tomorrow, talking about, what you need to know. And then we talked about at Arizona football, getting that running back room. And the running back room is very, very nice at this point. Now, next step is Arizona basketball, and that next domino is Caleb Love. Miles Kelly obviously is committed to Auburn. That was a player that I think was going to be a backup option for Arizona, but now all the eggs are in the Caleb Love basket. Now, Caleb Love is going to probably wait this one out until the very last second. We talked about that before. I think he'd want to be in the NBA, but just because you want to be in the NBA doesn't mean that you necessarily are going to be in the NBA. And I think Caleb Love probably is getting that. When you're not considered one of the 100 best prospects, that's something that you got to consider. And especially too, when you're looking at possibly coming back and getting $400K, probably even more. That is a nice little thing for Caleb Love. Plus, he could be one of the absolute marquee players in college basketball. Let's be honest here, too. You're going into the Big 12. It's the best basketball conference in the country. You're going to be playing the Kansases of the world. You're going to be playing the Baylors. You're going to be playing the Houstons. You're going to have a national schedule where you've got Duke as well. There is a lot to like about Arizona's schedule, and I think Caleb Love could be one of the faces of college basketball. He was the conference player of the year last year, and he was the third-team All-American. I think you come back and maybe you got some Naismith Wooden Award possibilities up your sleeve, because there's not like there's a Zach Edey coming back where you're like, all right, well, he's 1,000% going to be that guy. I think you've got the potential to be one of the faces of college basketball. Factor in the fact that the coaching staff likes him a lot. I think, and honestly, I don't know that he's going to average as many points this year, but I could see him averaging maybe 17 points per game. But if he can get that efficiency up to maybe 45, 46%, maybe you start looking and you're like, all right, maybe he is an NBA prospect. But there's a lot to like I said about Caleb Love and him coming back. And Arizona fans, you should 100% want him back. I do not understand the people that want him to go so you can bring a freshman in that could average 8 or 9 points a game. Listen, unless you're an uber talented 5-star kid, the generally freshman shooting guard probably in that 12 to 13 point game per realm, and I don't know that you're going to be somebody that you want the ball with at the end of a game. I think about Kobe Simmons. Kobe Simmons was a top 18 to 20 player in the country, kind of like Josan Sainon, but when you're dealing with players like that, I don't know that they're going to be the one that is going to be able to lead you to the promised land. I get people say that about Caleb Love, but Caleb Love has also been to a Final Four. Caleb Love was very successful here in his first year at the U of A, and I think that he could even improve upon that. So hopefully there's going to be good news from Caleb Love. And like I say, everybody, you want Caleb Love to come back. We should all want Caleb Love to come back. That would be a good thing, and I think that would pretty much square out the roster. You might add a player or two, but overall I think Arizona is looking at that, and you're like, all right, we're ready to rock and roll with that roster. Okay, now tomorrow, we're going to talk Arizona baseball. Arizona baseball has a regional, or is going to be hosting a super regional. And a lot of people are saying, you know what, if you want Chip Hale to get total credit, you got to at least be able to get out of the super regional. I do not necessarily agree with that, but I also understand that point of view as well. I think that Arizona fans should be, you should have high expectations here at the U of A. And I think Chip Hale has done a pretty good job. And Chip Hale, I think, understands those expectations probably better than anybody, being that where he's come from. So we're going to break that down. We'll talk some more. We'll talk probably a little bit more Caleb Love, because that decision's definitely coming down. And we're going to talk some Arizona football as well. All kinds of really, really good stuff going on. But as always, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Bear down, back the A. We will be back with you tomorrow.